Hi folks, Ben Creighton here. So, if you're watching this, you've probably made it to brackets, and they just changed things up on you. We're talking here about the Go Mode Podcast 2021. In the Swiss stage, you were playing random sword assured. You would always start with a fighter's sword. They've changed that to open swords randomized, meaning you start without a sword, and you don't get mentors during your live race anymore. And I think that's a little weird, and it might get... I think you should have somebody telling you, hey, here's what's different in this new mode that they've put you in. Oh, hold on, I gotta change something on my end here so I can see what I'm doing a little nicer. Okay, there we go. So, first things first. You don't have a sword, you're going through the practice ROM just how you normally would. You're opening. I see a lot of folks doing the uncle start in the Swiss rounds, which is fine. Like, yeah, we like to make our jokes. Filthy uncle router. Uncle routing is fine. Do make sure you pick up this sign, because you can't use your sword, to kill that guard so that you can get the tier 1 tree pull. But personally, I think uncle routing makes more sense when you have a sword, because you can get up to here, you can talk to uncle, you can get in here, and then you can go straight into the front of escape. Without a sword, that's a much more iffy proposition, because you're going to get to that first key guard, and you're not going to be able to progress. So if you do it, I suggest just save and quitting right here, over to Sank, and continuing from there. Although personally, I think the Uncle Start is a little suboptimal in a sword randomized setting. I think a better opening is open up in Sank, grab this chest, of course, and the thing you want to be thinking of, the thing you want to be keeping in your mind right now is, I want bombs before I get to CAC. I want to have as many chances to get bombs before that as possible. So I'm going to start in Sank, get the Sank chest, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to head up here, I'm going to kill one of these pickle men so that I can check the tier 1 tree pull for bombs. I'm going to check the bush crab for bombs. I'm going to go ahead and check lumberjack, because I'm right here anyway. I'm going to head into the Lost Woods. Now remember, when you're dashing, you can't dash through enemies because you don't have a sword. If the bush crab prize was something like a big 20, you could grab it again from that guy there. Check the mushroom spot. Codeman asks, skip bonk rocks. You usually wouldn't have boots in this situation, so this is just for demonstration purposes. If you've lucked out and gotten boots early, then by all means check bonk rocks. But you check here. If the tier 1 tree pull happened to be something good, you could kill one of those crows with by chucking a couple of bushes at it and grab it again here. But let's say you're at this point, you don't have bombs and you don't have rupees to get bombs. I would pop a save and quit from here. If you have bombs or at least 50 rupees, continue on into village. If not, save and quit out, grab this, head over here. If you happen to have gotten gloves, this rock right here has a 50-50 chance of giving you a bomb. But continue over here, head over here. You've got 2 more 50-50 shots under this bush. Hey, look, I got one. And this bush. Oh, look, I got another one. If you pull those and you don't get a bomb, head up here, head back down, your chances reset. 50-50 chance here, 50-50 chance here. Once I've gotten at least 2 bombs, that's when I'll continue. Because I want to have 1 in case race game is something good. And you'll go ahead and check library as you're heading up here. Of course, it's vanilla, because this is the practice ROM, so that's a book. But you check library, you head up here, you head up here, you check this, because if this happens to be a trio of bombs or a sword or something, it might change things a little. But let's say you're still rocking only 1 or 2 bombs at this point and not enough rupees. At this point, personally, I'll do supply shed. Practice ROM, so I can't quick swap. You bomb this door right here. The 4 corners will always have bombs, but it takes 1 bomb to get in. Now, some people would rather, because this is a little time consuming, some people would rather gamble and just run in and hope to find bombs in, like, Blind's hideout or wherever. And that's fine. That's just you playing the game. Personally, I'll take the slower guaranteed strat most of the time. But whatever, it's fine. And then you just continue with CAC the normal way. Toss that. Get Chicken Hut. By the way, there's one other spot that might have bombs for you. That's good to know about. And that's right up here. It is this rock. If you happen to have found gloves instead of, and you're up here in Lost Woods, instead of saving quitting out, you get that same 50-50 shot from this rock. And you can reset it by just screen transitioning, so you can farm bombs that way. If you haven't found bombs up in Lost Woods... Oh, these bonk rocks? Oh, you might be right. Hey, look at that, you're right. So yeah, if you have boots, you get that. Let's say you haven't found bombs any of those places, but you have 50 rupees. Once again, some folks will just head into Blind's hut and hope to find him there. Personally, I would rather just run down, buy him, and go back up and take it guaranteed, but it's a judgment call. It's fine. It's whatever. So from there, if you still don't have a sword or some weapon capable of killing mini Moldorms by the time you exit CAC, like... Because, you know, you go around, you do Kakariko Village. If you haven't found anything else that would change your routing, South Shore is probably still the play. You're going to go down here. It is 3 bombs to get all of the checks in Kakariko, plus a 4th for race game. Plus, you want to make sure to have 1 for Mini Moldorm and 1 for Ice Rod Cave. If you still haven't found a weapon, you want to have as many bombs as you can, as close to maximum as possible when you leave CAC, because you're going to do this. You're probably going to go over to Mini Moldorm Cave. And when you do, this is something to maybe practice, is bomb strats Mini Moldorms. Because I'll just go up, pop that guy, sort of hold it until the last minute. Yep, and see, sometimes it just happens. But it's... The longer you hold it, the more likely... You see, I came in here with 9 bombs, and it took all but 2 of them. So that's just something to think about. Just something to think about. There's a lot of RNG involved, but it's very doable, but you want to make sure to have as many bombs as possible. And from here, that's pretty much all the general advice that I can give you when it comes to opening strats. I mean, from here, it's not much different. And usually you'll have found something. You'll have found a bow, a blue cane, something capable of killing enemies. Now, there is one other thing that I want to talk about as far as opening strats. Yeah, like at this point, it's just going to depend on the items you get. But something else to think about, and this happens more often in a casual boots race where you know you're coming out of that escape sequence with boots, but on the off chance that you did that opening sequence, maybe you found boots in Sank Chest, maybe you found them in Lost Woods, but if you're coming out of Lost Woods and you have both bombs and boots, this is an opening strat that you can use. And it's to pick up these 6 bushes, and you're going to set up a water walk, and you're going to do it by dashing partially over this hole and bonking back. That arms the water walk. And then you're going to come over here. And before you ever go into Cack Village, you're going to come over here. You're going to use that water walk to come down here, hop into this portal. You're going to head over here. You're going to head up to Ice Rod Cave. Going to watch out for crabs, because we all know how much they suck. You're going to check Ice Rod Cave. You're going to set up another water walk by getting partially over this edge and dashing out of the screen. You're going to, again, watch out for crabs. Going to rush on down this way. Hop off of this ledge. And you're water walking again. Now, this is going to be a little different depending on if you have Moon Pearl. You're going to go up and check here. If you have Moon Pearl, go ahead and get Hobo. If you don't, leave it behind. Because we're going to head over here. We're going to grab these 2 chests. We're going to check what is on the ledge here. You probably don't have the means. I mean, if you have flippers, great. Go around and grab it if it's something good. If you have $500, go ahead and grab Zora. Probably you won't have either, in which case you're just going to double back. And then you're going to go ahead and go to Hobo. And the reason why I say go ahead and get Hobo if you have Moon Pearl, that's because you can get your water walk back in Fairy Fountain if you have Moon Pearl. If you don't, you want to make sure and save this for last, because as soon as I hop out, oh no, I've lost my water walk. And I can fake flip back out of here with this setup, but I can't water walk. And so I wouldn't be able to get the Fairy Fountain checks. So, but probably that's not going to come up in the tournament because, hey, guess what? It's you haven't gone through the escape sequence. You probably don't have boots yet. So okay, that's that stuff. Now let's talk about kind of going through the game without a sword. And mostly I'm going to focus on bosses here, bosses that you might have to fight without a sword. Armos Knights doesn't make a difference. You're using bow on Armos Knights. Lanmos, not likely to come up. Not likely to come up because the entrance requirements for Desert are such that you'll probably have a sword by the time you get in here. But for the sake of argument, if you don't, what do you do? And it's gonna depend on what you have. The worst possible... It is technically possible with only bombs. And it is possible for it to be hard required with only bombs. It is very, very unlikely. I would not worry about it. Only once have I had it required with bow and bombs. That is also, it's doable. It sucks, but it is doable. I really wouldn't worry about that either. If it happens, and that sucks, but you just got to do as best you can, but just... Yeah, see, I'm not great at it either. You just kind of... My best advice for you is just to play slow and careful, because you do not want to run out of ammo. So... Just... Focus on bow strats first. And yeah, you can see I kind of suck at it. In fact, let's see if I can even do this here. Once you run out of arrows, you gotta switch to bombs. And that sucks, but it's whatevs. Hey, I did it! I didn't even have to switch to bombs. I'm the best. So that's Landmos. Other things that work on them. And you know what? Let's, I'm just gonna look this up on the wiki. Let's just look this up and see what else works on these guys. I know Blue Cane works. Just saw that in a race the other day. I suppose it would help if I went back to Landmos. Blue Cane works. Once you've got that Blue Cane going, there's a startup cost for Blue Cane. Yep, so that's it. Let's assume I had Blue Cane but no bow. Unlikely to happen, but you just have to, because it won't kill them all outright. Yeah, just kind of got to do your best here. Probably I will not be able to do this. Yep. Yep. Hey, guess what? Turns out this is a tough fight. Yep, that's it. We're done. Oh, I got it down to one head, though. But I wouldn't worry about that too much. Because, like I say, it is very unlikely to be hard required. Wouldn't worry about it too much. What else works? I think that's about it. Oh, you know what? Let's see. I'm just looking at the wiki here. Yeah, Ice Rod obviously works. Fire Rod works. Oh, Red Cane works apparently. Let's see how that does. So you can tell that this is unlikely to come up. Considering that I didn't even know it was the case. Whoops. So yeah, that's probably the best way to do it with Red Cane is just try and... Yeah, you can... Just try and set it where he's about to come out, and hey, look at that, it works. Not optimal, but, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. Let's go to, let's grab Fire Rod. Oops. Would help if I went to the Landmo fight now, wouldn't it? So Fire Rod and Ice Rod, very similar strats. And you probably know this one already. This is how I handle it anyway. I just head up to the top. And you can see just whiffing that one little shot. I guess I whiffed 2 shots, so that's the margin of error, but you can always back it up with bombs. Sort of get out the bomb. Try and do it as best you can. There we go. Just like with the mini Moldorms, sort of hold the bomb until the last minute and then chuck it. That works. Ice Rod, it's the same setup. You just gotta keep in mind that the projectile moves more slowly, but just do your best. Other bosses. Got Moldorm. So if you're doing Moldorm, I believe the hammer is the only other thing that can take down Moldorm. Yep, and I am correct. Hammer, hammer, hammer. So anytime you're having to use hammer strats, the down and side hitboxes are a little bigger and easier to hit with. The top one is tough. So as much as you can, just for the sake of argument, I'll take away my sword there. As much as you can, try and hit stuff to the side or from the top and not... Like, I'm gonna just kind of let him... Well, that was a golden opportunity, so I took it. But it's gonna be a little easier to the side, to the bottom. Boom, boom, boom. If you have fighters or master sword, this is gonna be quicker anyway. And you happen to have hammer, so just keep that in mind. That's Moldorm, not much different. Aga, you'll always have a sword. Helma, really not much different. Let's take away my sword here. Really not much different. You will always have hammer and bow, which is all you need. You don't get to use that little poke strat to make it a little quicker, but other than that, see, exactly the same fight. And then switch to bow. If you don't have... Usually you'll have plenty of arrows, but if you don't, just gotta finish them off with hammer. Blind. Plenty of things that can kill blind. Sword, none. Samaria works, Burna works, Hammer works. It's not ideal, but you go to war with the army you have. Let me just drop a save state here. So you probably already know the Burna strats. Not exactly rocket science. You just... The main thing is to just... Make sure to conserve your magic, because see, that took like half my meter. And in fact, you probably want to see what you can do with other options first and save it for the last phase. Ow. There we go. Red cane works. You just kind of drop the block in his path and just focus on dodging while he hits it. If you see a golden opportunity to detonate it in his face, then great. Go ahead and take it. I would not recommend picking it up and throwing it because the act of doing that slows you down so hard that you will probably take a hit doing it. So I would not recommend picking up and throwing the block. If you see a golden opportunity, then sure, but not if you can help it. If all you have is hammer, it sucks, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And here, I'd go ahead and take the first shot. Maybe get another. But yeah, see, I'm taking lots of damage here. If you have the health to do it, then go ahead, wade in, take some damage. If you don't, then kind of get to the side. Take a couple pot shots as he comes out, and then just... Oop. Sometimes you get a bad laser hit, and it just is what it is. But no shame in just waiting him out until he comes down here, and now you can hit him from the side. And it's a lot safer. Than trying to get between him and the wall where it's easy to get cornered. And I always tell people, don't be afraid to pause buffer. If you're afraid you're going to get hit, just pause buffer a little. Oop. To get out of the danger zone, just give yourself a little time to think, a little room to breathe. Don't be afraid to wait out this stuff where he's on top. There we go. Oop. Oh, and see, I took a death. It happens. It happens. So if you take a death and you have to go back in, and unless you know it's hard required, it's okay to peace out and come back better equipped. But let's say you took a death and you head back in. That's going to change up your strat just a little bit. If you have Red Cane, a good opener to that rematch fight is to head in, drop it, grab it, throw it. That is the only situation in which I would recommend throwing the block. Usually it's not going to be worth it. Go ahead and leave that right there. Just a little present for him. He passes through it again. But mostly just take it. Oop, take it easy, take it slow. Play it safe. You gotta remember the other guy is probably having to deal with the same nonsense, so if you're losing time, maybe he is too. That would be my blind advice. Next up. Moth, you will always have a sword, because you need to slash the curtains to get in there. Fighter Sword Moth is rough. It's more likely to happen in this mode because, hey, guess what? You're one sword down without that assured sword. So this is another one where it's hard to give very specific advice because there's no script. DesadX asks, can you get to the guy who sells Fire Shield before fighting blind if you have money? Absolutely you can. So if you've got an extra $500, by all means, if you're worried about that blind fight, go grab that Fire Shield. It might come in handy. So if you're rocking relatively low magic like this, I would say save your fire rod shots for trying to, boom, bounce them off the spikes like that. Oop. But, yep, all you can do is just... I would not attempt to charge up spins, just because if you get hit and lose your spin, it feels really bad. Oop. Sometimes something like that'll happen, but Best advice I can give you is just take your time. Yeah, Wimpy's right. You can try and start out with a spin right when he starts moving, because the spikes won't be moving yet. So it's a little safer to start out with a spin. After that, I would not try it. And just like blind, don't be afraid to pause buffer if you need some breathing room. It takes some time, but it's better than taking a death. Moving on. Cold Stare, once again, very unlikely that you will have to do this completely swordless, but if it happens, it happens. Obviously, if you have Fire Rod and the magic to use it, great. Let's say, for the sake of argument, you don't. Let's go to... Oop. Yeah, try and get your first hit off while they're all three still together, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Like I said earlier, try and hit them from the side or from above, because that's a lot safer. If you get into a real pickle, hug the top. Notice how when you're on the top, oop, but that'll happen. But notice how when I was at the very top there, the icicles despawn. They drop right into the wall and despawn and cannot hurt you. So that's something that can help you out there. Get back into there here. Well, let's try that again and see if I can get it this time. And just like those other fights, this is one that can, where you can find yourself getting cornered. If you need to pause buffer in order to get some dodges in, that's fine. Sometimes those puffs get aggro on you, and you just got to do your best. Ooh, wait for it. Oh, boy. Yeah, see? It happens. It happens. All right, I'm going to keep doing this until I get it. But this is much lower percent than you are likely to have to deal with it. Because this is starting me off with only 7 hearts and green mail. Even if you don't have a sword, you are likely to have something to make this easier. More health, an armor upgrade, magic safeties. Now, like I said, I'm doing kind of a lot of these up hammers here, which would not be my recommendation. But, oh, see, here's where I say pause buffering might be helpful just to give you an extra second of breathing room. But yeah, if the... Oh! Okay, I'm gonna start hugging the ceiling again here because this is starting to get rough. Sort of try to get accustomed to the rhythm of the icicles so that you know when you're going to need to dodge. Boom. Okay, did it. All right. Next up, bosses. That was Cold Stare. Argus. It's very unlikely that you'll have to do this without a sword. Oops. But again, for the sake of argument, this is what they call the slideshow fight, because you gotta hook it, hammer it. Hook it, hammer it. Hook it, hammer it. It's not a hard fight, it's just slow. But there are circumstances where if you don't have a lot of items yet, it might be slightly faster to quick swap instead of menuing. Not often. Rover brings up a good point, which is that... In fact, let me switch over to... If you're in here with only Fighter's Sword, you gotta charge up a spin, release it. The double spin will kill it. There are ways to double hook before spinning, to hook two of them. I have not mastered it, and I do not attempt it in a live race. If you would like to learn it, ask somebody else. Because personally, it is... I've attempted to learn it, and it is sufficiently difficult that it is not worth my time. There are other strats that I want to learn first. But, for the sake of argument. Alright. Moving along. Vitreous. Vitreous Swordless sucks. And once again, not super likely that you'll have to do it, but just in case. Bow, and let's get real. You're usually gonna have 10 bombs and 30 arrows here, so I'm not going to attempt this. Oops, that's max HP. Oops. I'm not going to attempt super low percent. I'm just gonna... Three arrows per eyeball. You just gotta make sure... Woo! To save 8 for the last phase. And then it's slow and it sucks, but bombs for the rest. And you kind of want to just chuck the bombs where you know they're going to be. Where they're kind of resting spot. Of course, if you have the hammer, that works too. You've just got to be careful, because stuff like that will happen. But the thing about that lightning is you will get hit by it sometimes. There is no safe place to stand. It's safer to be on the edges, but that lightning can reach all the way to the corner. You just got to do what you got to do. So that's Vitreous. Just do your best. Once again, I'm going to do this until I get it. You can definitely do bombs first. And in fact, that's not a terrible idea. Just get my equipment here. 30 arrows. 10 bombs. Pop a save state here. Because, yeah, it's easier to hit more of them. Bombs do not do a lot of damage. Oop. And in fact, it's really better to concentrate them on one side. Because they do so little damage that it might not even be enough to equal an arrow shot if the same eye doesn't get hit a bunch of times. But just take your time. At this point, my arrow count's looking kind of iffy, so I'm trying, I say as I miss a shot, trying to play it a little safe here. Whoops. As you get towards the end, the lightning starts coming faster, so just be aware of that. Alright, did it. with 10 arrows to spare. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Kills him. Hammer strats are better than using bombs, slower than using arrows, but very dangerous for obvious reasons. So even if I've got hammer, I will go through bombs and arrows first, but that's a personal preference thing. Next up, Trinex. So you will always have... You'll always have your fire and ice rods. You'll always have hammer. Best advice I can give you here is, once again... Now, there are people who will disagree with me. It is faster to go up to him and hit a hammer up. Personally, I do it from the side. Because it's safer. You might take a shot there, and that sucks, but you gotta do what you gotta do. On the off chance that you are just loaded with magic, like let's say you know you have 4 blue goos in your bottles, and you do not need to worry about magic. You can just... dump, refill, dump, totally viable way to do it. Oops, I just save stated instead of loading state. All right. Take away my sword again, just for the sake of argument. Honestly, the way I did that there was kind of not great. You're better off, like, yeah, this head comes out first. Go ahead and get him. But go ahead and switch to the ice head after that. Because if you're fast and not slow, like I just was, you might be able to prevent that ice floor from coming out. But if you don't, oh well. But yeah, definitely recommend if you're doing hammer, try and hit him from the side like this. Try and hit him again while he's still stunned before the head starts juking around, because that's how you lose magic. But I'm not gonna lie, it's a hard fight, and it sucks, and I hope you have more safeties than I just did. Final phase here. Once again, my best advice is just take it slow, play it safe. Dodge, hit to the side, dodge, dodge. If you find a golden opportunity to hit him when he's on top of you, then great, but otherwise, side hits are a lot faster, or a lot safer, rather, because of the bigger hitbox than top hits. DesadX points out, yes, his tail wagging in the first phase does tell you when you're going to need to dodge in a second. So that's pretty much, you know, swordless / low percentage boss fights and opening strats for open sword randomized mode. Chafe or anybody else, does anybody have any questions? Anything I didn't go over before we cut it? Chafe says, no questions, all very helpful. Okay, awesome. And yeah, definitely, like what I just went through, all those low percent boss fights, those are good things to practice. Boot up that practice ROM, like that half an hour or however long before you're about to get into a race. That's when you're in there, you've always got that last 10 or 15 minutes before the race when you're just sitting around waiting for everything to get ready. You've got the race room open. That's a good time to just get your reps in, get some practice in so that it's fresh if it does happen. So there you go. Best of luck in bracket stages. Bye, everybody.